What's going on, Metropolitans? Today, another entry in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. We take a look at some of the other teams that are trying to quarter away the all-star outfielder and what it means for the Mets' chances on this edition of Mets Digest. What's going on, everybody? Flobo Boyce is here live with you. Not really live, but I just like saying live as you break down all the news and notes where it comes to Mets content. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for telling your friends and family about the channel. Now, do me a favor. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You want to put yourself in the best position possible to know when new clips drop all the time because it's going to be a crazy hot stove off season. Now, you know that I know that you know that your best friend knows the New York Mets, the Metropolitans themselves, can benefit by having Juan Soto on the roster. And still, as of this recording, the biggest free agent in this free agent class. But you also know that Juan Soto has options. I'm not just saying the fact that after the World Series loss this year, he was like, I'm open to all 30 teams. Let's be real. He's not going to the Athletics, right? There are a few teams are in the mix to acquire Juan Soto in his free agency year, his age 26 and 27 season and beyond. But you got to think about it. If the Mets aren't on the table, let's look and weigh in the options of other teams that can possibly land Juan in free agencies. I know. Whether you like Juan or you don't like Juan or you want him on the team or you don't want him on the team, it's good to see the approaches that other teams are doing while this rolls on. So actually, the first thing that struck me a little bit was this one from Hector Gomez. He is an insider with Z101 Digital out of the Dominican Republic. He is a self-proclaimed MLB insider and says this about the Toronto Blue Jays. He says, while the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers seem to be Juan Soto's top suitors in free agency, the Blue Jays will be going all out to offer him the contract he's seeking. Now, that for me at first had me going, the Blue Jays, why? Like, that to me is an absolute step back. If you think about how far the Yankees went with their flawed roster, they at least made it to the World Series. If you're a young athlete who is at the peak of your game, why would you go to a team that not only is a division rival from the Yankees, but one that finished in absolute last place? And I know I said this in other videos, but there is a tax disadvantage for playing in Canada if you have any kind of interests in the United States. I think The Athletic had a really good piece about this, about why would anyone play for Canada. It focuses on hockey and a former New York Islanders, current Toronto Maple Leafs player, John Tavares, but the instant remains the same. If you have interests in both countries, you may be taxed not double, but at least twice or at a different rate or different clip, where that giant contract he's seeking may be more of a disadvantage, or a team would have to come up with, the Blue Jays would have to come up with more money to compensate this. But Brady Farkas over at SI.com, Sports Illustrated, actually decides to entertain this and goes on in a bit more detail. He says, it seems to signify the Jays are going for it in 25 and beyond. After a last place finish in 24, there had been questions about what the Blue Jays would do this offseason. Will they double down and try to maximize the final year of Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette era, or will they start shipping out pieces in an effort to save money and acquire prospects? Again, finishing in last place would lead me to believe the latter. Any move for Soto is a true investment in the organization's competitive window, and the Jays get him. It shows they have an intention on trying to win their first World Series since 1993. Again, those rules kind of put them at a disadvantage, the Blue Jays, and I do think they're going to pretty much promote from within and try to make more homegrown talent. That is me just inferring what I've seen with the Blue Jays over the season or two. But I can't deny that at least one outlet, Z101 Digital, out of the Dominican Republic, has the Blue Jays as a potential shooter for Juan Soto. I think this is actually the most far-fetched one myself, but it isn't the only one. So let's shift over to Los Angeles. The Dodgers are the world champions, even though I am kind of hesitating recognizing that just because they beat us in the NLCS this year. But they are favorites to run it back, and they have an interest in Juan as well. This one comes from the Subway to Shea podcast, which is a podcast that covers the Mets, which I enjoy. I don't get to listen to any much episodes that I would like, but I do pop in every now and then. But I came across this transliteration from Sports Kita. This one goes about Juan Soto with the LA Dodgers thing. If you think the Mets should be all in on Juan Soto, remember last year the Mets offered Yoshinobu Yamamoto the most money to come up to the team, outbidding the Yankees, mind you, although he ended up going to the Dodgers for the same price. Quote, that's the type of player, Soto, you give the most money and give them the years as well. He's a franchise player. He's a kid that is probably top 5, top 10 in MLB. If there's anyone I'm going to give the money to and open checkbooks for, it's going to be Juan Soto. Now, at first, I would say the Dodgers would not make this play because if you look at Teoscar Hernandez's contract and Shohei Ohtani's, they're very much weighed in deferrals, and Juan Soto has said adamantly he's not going to defer that money. He wants his cash up front. However, you are the Los Angeles Dodgers. You not only have the plan Bs and Cs and Ds with your not as healthy as before, but still healthy prospect farm. You're able to use veterans. They have that team mentality. They are the world champion. There is a bigger platform. Of course, you'll be exposed to whole new markets, and especially Eastern Asia. This might be something that even if the Dodgers don't offer the most money, there may be some intangibles that they can offer that other teams cannot. As much as I love the New York Mets, the number one team on the planet for me, I can say that the Dodgers, especially in Asia, have more brand recognition. Is that important to Juan Soto? So you go to a team that has the pedigree, that has the cash, has the organization. That definitely puts that in top 2 for me. I would say that he would stay. He would either go to Queens or to Los Angeles. But I can't forget about the team he's on now. That's the New York Yankees. Talking about big brands in baseball, some would argue the Yankees are the most iconic brand in all of the sport. Yankee hats and fitteds are worn everywhere. To me, Juan Soto looked more at home in pinstripes, despite the fact the World Series kind of unraveled in front of him. But the idea of the Yankees re-signing Soto is a very viable option. Danny Abariano, who covers the Mets for SNY, the TV network that airs the games locally, had this to say about it. Quote, the Yankees used to be the biggest fish, but that ended about 2 decades ago when other teams, including the Dodgers and the Red Sox, started to flex their financial might in a bigger way. In the recent past, the Yanks passed on Bryce Harper in free agency, nearly lost Aaron Judge to the Giants, and were outbid by the Padres for $40 million for his services, and lost the Yoshinobu Yamamoto sweepstakes to the Dodgers, refusing to engage in a bidding war while also being outbid by the Mets. So the possibility of Juan sticking with the Yankees is pretty high. Let's be real. Definitely one of the 2 or 3 options. But yes, it is the recency of the Yankee moves that Cashman and company gives me a bit pause. Yes, they're willing to have they have the payroll, they're willing to spend the money, but not as much on a big splash free agent who's asking for $500 million minimum and possibly almost $750 million over an indefinite amount of time. So I think the Yankees are in the mix, but if you have to give me my betting dollar, I would probably put the New York Mets up front alongside the Los Angeles Dodgers. Not sure about the Toronto Blue Jays, though. That would be like breaking baseball for me if somehow the Blue Jays signed Juan Soto. I got to give a shout out to our sister network, Jays Digest. They've been actually entertaining that, even though the odds that happening are slim to nil or even nil to less than nil. So after hearing that, I want to know what you think about the possibility about Juan Soto coming over to Queens. Do you think it is as likely as it was a couple days ago? Do you think this is going to be a long off season before we have an answer? I am dying to figure out. Let us know in the comments below. As always, it's your boy Flobo Boyce. Thank you so much for checking out Mets Digest. We'll be back with more content. And as always, it's LJM to the bitter end.